Good morning, everybody. I'm Don Yoakum. This is ProInsight, and today we are talking about our focus and the big rocks that drive it. And so there are often times we come to a place in the market. This will be my third real estate cycle to go through. And when I say cycle, I'm talking about having a really vibrant market like we have had for the last 8 years. And for those of you that are relatively new to the real estate industry, the last 8 years have been unprecedented. So it's never been this good, okay? And we've never had these higher prices, and we've never had these low of interest rates, okay? And so we've had this remarkable situation. With it though, there have been certainly challenges. So it's not been all money falling from the trees. It's been extraordinarily difficult to get buyers' offers accepted, especially if they might have government financing or something like that. And when you're out there competing with cash buyers and in the tune of 10 and 12 and 14 deals, that's tough. If open houses were your thing, we haven't had a lot of those. Or because of the pandemic, people didn't want to go to open houses. That's becoming a new thing again, right? So, with each cycle, in each shift, you're going to have things that will become easier. It will become easier to get your buyers accepted, and things that will become more difficult. There'll be less sales. There'll be less investors speculating in the marketplace. And so in an environment like this, the purpose of this call is to get you focused on the one thing that can deliver you a sale or two or three a month, okay? And so I want you to all be thinking about, if I had to make a sale, what would I do? What activity set would I undertake, and how much of it would I have to do, or how much would I have to invest in order to make that happen? Okay, so if we were coming in as a business, let's say acquirers, and we were going to acquire your business or acquire a business, the first thing that happens when someone new comes into a business is they make an evaluation of the business, and they go, okay, well, we've got these 4 or 5 different verticals, these paths to revenue. And so first thing let's do is let's determine the return of each one. So for each and every one of these, what's our cost per lead, cost per appointment, cost per sale? And let's quantify it both in time and money, okay? And so then what we've done is we've created this ranking, top to bottom, of our highest return to our lowest return activity. The next thing you want to do is stop doing the one that ended up on the bottom, okay? And double down on the one that ended up on the top, okay? But before you go double downing on it, even though it is your best, highest return activity, I want you to ask yourself a question. And the question is, who's doing that activity better than you? Okay, I don't really care how good you are. Even Russell with For Sale by Owners, I'm guessing there's some aspect of For Sale by Owners that there's someone on the planet that's better than him, okay? And just to pick on you a little bit extra, Russell, do you have your lender calling on your For Sale by Owners?
Absolutely no. I don't even have a preferred lender.
Okay, so see there, we got that top FSBO guy in the country operating at half mast. Okay, so
probably less than that.
All right, so I just want you to think about this for a second. When you call a FSBO, I mean, you're incredibly persuasive, and I know when you do your Thursday calls every other week, you're getting consistently 4, 5, 6, 7 appointments, which is crazy good, right? I'm in awe of that, because when I was an agent, FSBOs and we were like oil and water, okay? And So it's impressive. And what I want you to know is you're leaving huge opportunity on the table, because what I can tell you is when I was a lender and I called for sale by owners, they were very gracious to me. They were very polite. They needed my service. They were trying to close a transaction without a realtor, and they knew that I would have connections to all kinds of vendors and contract sources, and actually they didn't want to be tied up in a deal that wasn't going to perform. And I could provide them all kinds of free marketing tools. My marketing department would even, we had this drone program going on at one point. I mean, I had all kinds of free stuff for sale by owners. They love me. Okay. And so my point is that you do a tremendous amount of business. You've got some really productive people on your team. And therefore you should have great influence with a lender. And you probably, does a week go by before a lender doesn't ask you if they can earn your business in some way?
Yeah, no, a week doesn't go by, and I'm like, I do mainly listings, so we refer by lenders fairly often, but not very often. And here's my buyer's agents, call them.
Okay, so here's what I want you to do next time you get that call. You say, well, you know what? Maybe there is a way we could do more business together. And say, you know what I have found is that for sale by owners, while they're not especially fond of realtors, they really like lenders because they need you 70% of the time. They need you. Okay. And so what I do is I have gone to the work of assembling a list of all of the for sale by owners in our market, and I do contact them too. And by the way, if you embark on this program with me, if those people tell me they're not going to go homeless after they sell their house, which is a pretty good bet, I'll connect them to you so that you could then potentially do their next loan, right? The only thing that I ask is that you call them also, okay? Or maybe we'll split up the list, divide and conquer. And so, and when you do, you don't need to mention me, okay? Initially, just call up and, it would be ring, ring, ring. Hi, I'm calling about the home at 234 Forest Lake Lane. Yes, how can I help you? Well, I just wanted to reach out to you because I see that you've got your home for sale, and looks like you're representing yourself. And I'm a local lender, and we're looking for the same person. Matter of fact, we're both looking for a buyer. You're looking for one for your home. I'm looking for one that wants to do a loan. And so I thought we might team up. And I have a number of free resources that I can provide you, and that could be useful in the marketing of your property. I've got open house signs, I've got flyers, we do a drawing for a $200 gift certificate at a local restaurant. If you want to do an open house, if you do have people that should inquire, I'll qualify them for you and make sure you don't get tied up with people that can't perform. Do these things sound like they would be of value to you? And they'll say yes or no. And I'll say, by the way, what's prompted your sale? Oh, well, I'm moving to Timbuktu. I'd say, well, wonderful. And has someone connected you to a real estate resource there? No, I've just been looking on the internet. Okay, well, I have a real estate colleague that is happy to do that for you, and do the homework and find out who would be a good person. Can you tell me just a few details about what you're looking for and so forth? And then they call you and say, hey, Russell, this guy needs an agent in Timbuktu. He's looking for a 3 and 2, blah, blah, blah. There's a referral fee, right? And now that also is now entered you into the picture though, okay? Because now what I want you to see is you've got 2 advocates with this for sale by owner. The guy in Timbuktu wants that home sold because he's not going to get to represent them in the purchase until they sell their home. So he's going to be helping them to find stuff in Timbuktu, but he's going to also be in your ear going, hey, did you talk to that guy in California about his program? He has a way of selling your home without any listing fee to you at all. You might want to just chat with him, right? And then the lenders, they're saying the same thing, right? You've not even had to make a solicitation to this guy, but you got a referral fee going and you got two people advocating for you, right? Makes sense? All right, so this is what I'm talking about, you guys, is what you want to do is you want to identify this area where you're already nails, okay? And then I want you to refine your approach. I want you to plus it and double the activity, right? In other words, if Russell's making the same amount of calls that he's made and his lender's making the same amount of calls that Russell's making, hasn't he doubled his activity? Okay. And what if Russell were to rinse and repeat this process and he goes, okay, well, so now I got my guy in Sacramento County, that my lender that's doing this, and I'm going to send all my Sacramento County loans to him, and I'm going to have my buyer's agents do the same. And I'm going to get a separate lender in El Dorado County, and I'm going to get a separate one in Placer County, and a separate one in Yolo County. Well, now Russell's got 4 lenders making 10 FISBO calls a week. He's got so many listings coming out his ears, he doesn't even know what to do with it, okay? Right? And how much more work is he doing? Right? Easy peasy. All right. So sorry to pick on you, buddy, but
No worries. No, it's a good idea. I already messaged Brandon. We're going to connect.
There you go. Okay. All right. So guys, this is the time we've been, what I'm wanting to bring to your awareness is pretty much anything that you did in the last 8 years probably worked if you did it enough. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is really evaluate what you do best and double down on that. And before you start that double down process, I want you to sharpen your saw. I want you to improve your process. I want you to find somebody somewhere on the planet that does that thing better than you and rip off and duplicate. Okay. And figure out how you can double down on that thing. So we do have another icon in the house, Amy Sedgwick. Is there anybody that does floating homes as well or better than you, Amy?
Yeah, maybe. There's only about 5 of us that do it.
Okay, now you're talking about the people in your market, right?
Yeah.
Okay, where else on the planet do they have floating homes?
Seattle.
All right, and you are from Seattle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so who up there is the Amy Sedgwick of Seattle floating homes?
Well, currently they've all kind of retired, so there's a new shift coming in. But before that, people that I would have known would have been Rick Miner. He had quite the marketing thing going on, so he had a pretty big market share.
All right, and I am guessing if Rick is not active today, he knows who the players are.
Yeah. And then my friend Enrico Pozzo, he just retired as well and he handed his business off, kind of golden handoff style, to his group. So I think his group is probably the biggest player right now.
Okay, This is in Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay, but they're not with EXP.
No.
Nope. All right, well, there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Who do they?
We cross refer to each other.
Who do they work with?
Sotheby's.
Okay, that's interesting. And would you say that? floating homes isn't necessarily like a luxury niche, or can it be in some
Yeah,
areas?
well, in Seattle it is. And there's such a limited number of them. There's only 500 floating homes in Seattle.
Okay.
And in Portland, there's more like 2,000.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right.
There goes
And-
Don's brain with the numbers. If you have 2,000 floating homes, Amy.
Yeah. And 200 people,
Yeah.
and people sell every 10 years. That's 200 sales a year. How many
Yeah,
sales are
that's
you
right.
doing, Amy?
A lot.
All right. Anyway, hey, you know where I'm going with this is that the people that you're beating up on every month in
Mhm.
Portland
Mhm.
are probably not going to be super collaborative, you
Mhm.
know, just because you're beating up on them. You're a direct competitor. But the people in Seattle, that's a perfect referral partner for you. And that's a perfect person to share best practices with,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And I'm guessing, as great as you do things, and I just love your marketing for floating homes, they're doing something better than you.
Yeah. I'm sure they are. Yeah. I could learn
So
from Ed Rico's marketing group.
yeah, so I mean, and I know you're not a bold attractor,
Mhm.
but this would be a really graceful way for you to get into relationship and eventually attract them to EXP, right? Just call up with a genuine premise of, I was just thinking about who the top floating home marketers are in Seattle, and you came to mind. I was wondering if you guys might be interested in collaborating, maybe even forming a little mastermind.
Mhm.
How many floating homes areas around the country would you reckon there are that have 500 or more floating homes in the metro area?
San Francisco is another location.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Sausalito.
Yeah, Sausalito. That's the
I've
only other
seen
one
it.
I know of, actually.
Really?
It has maybe a significant amount. Yeah. Yeah.
I bet you
But
there. By the way,
I
I'll
have,
bet you there are. There's tons of lakes. Like Minnesota has 10,000 lakes.
but those are little $100,000 houseboats where there might be a dozen of them.
Maybe, but ask the question. In other words, at least build collaborations. And if you were to do nothing more than create a mastermind with a floating home expert in Sausalito,
Mhm.
and Seattle, and you, I mean, those are three super duper referral markets to
Mhm.
each other, aren't
Mhm.
they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't had it come from Sausalito yet, but Seattle and I work together. Mhm.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I mean, obviously you're super strong in this arena, and yet a way for you to get better would be to identify. I mean, we have already identified maybe two of the other top floating home markets and get in relationship with those people. You learn a little something. You might end up building enough of a relationship where they want to take a look at EXP,
Mhm. Well, on that note, I am speaking with two brokers here locally that also do floating homes. And keep in mind, there's only 5, maybe 6 of us, about them coming to EXP with me. And then we build the floating homes Portland from there. And so instead of each of us struggling for a fifth of the market share, we pulled together and, dominate.
Yeah, no, I love it. Okay, cool. And so anyway, just my encouragement to you is get yourself some collaboration going with actively. And when I say collaboration, I'm talking about, like you are going to be leading the YouTube mastermind, right? So I know you're going to have meetings to help people with that. And then you're going to be encouraging those people to choose a referral partner, identify their big rock, text each other each day, meet once a week, and then come to your meetings when you have them. But you could do that. You could set up that for yourself, but somebody at your level, right, in the floating home space. So just encouragement to do so.
Mhm.
Okay, who else is bold enough to share with us what they consider to be their go-to strategy? By the way, Troy Lyon, I see you there, buddy. Looking good. Are you do you have COVID pretty much behind you?
Yeah, no, I think so. I thought I was good, and then it crept back in for another day and a half. It was an odd thing. Pretty mild, but more so just the month of June. And my thing is open houses, and our buddy Bob is slinging houses like hotcakes, and I haven't been able to jump on his open houses, which I'm bummed about. So that's my go-to thing. But I was actually just on a hike. We're up in our mountain house and in the mountains, obviously in Fairplay, and went on a little community hike and just picked up a new buyer. And that's my thing. Like you can't always know when they're going to come, but coffee shops, biking, I've built bike teams. I've gotten a lot of business from there. So that's probably my biggest thing is being social. I'm also working with, I started collaborating with a guy that I connected with over Facebook. He owns a coffee shop right in downtown Evergreen. And someone was like, he was like, hey, is there a thing for guys to hang out like the ladies do? The ladies have a wine night. Can the guys do it? And some of the ladies were like, my husband will be there. And so he's like, well, if I can find someone to collaborate with. And so I raised my hand and said, hey, let's connect. Let's do a coffee and convos thing or something at your coffee shop or whatever, and just get into community. So that's kind of what's been missing for me is community. And then open house too. I mean, what's your thoughts of like our open house is going to be quiet, 2-3 visitors? Is that going to be worthwhile? What are your thoughts on that?
Open houses has been a thing for decades, right? And they'll be great if you are great, right? And so what how are you promoting an open house now?
I mean, in the past, like it's been really great. I've just been letting the market kind of do its thing. Obviously, I have a lot of signs up and I do some, advertising on Facebook and such, but I think people that are looking, Zillow is the go-to, and you need to know on Zillow that there's going to be an open house. So kind of let the market drive it.
Now, when when Bob lists that property, because the majority, I know you get your own listings as well, but does he put your name in the thing, or how does it work? How does it work in Zillow when it shows the open house?
It doesn't say the name, it just syndicates from the MLS.
Okay.
The MLS will state there's an open house. And now I'm here and there's 4 properties within this community that are for sale right now. How does it work when it's not an EXP agent? Will they allow me to do an open house? How do I pitch that? What value do you bring? How do you market it?
Yeah, I mean, a really fantastic strategy for open houses, especially as this market shifts, is to contact an out-of-area agent. So look for a vacant home. You're referring to in Fairplay?
Yeah.
Okay. So look for a home in Fairplay that is listed vacant and by an agent that's way out of that market. They're not going to do an open house, are they?
No.
Okay.
Most of these are people that are in the area.
I know, but I want you to look for one. By the way, in most markets, the out-of-area agent is represents about 8% of the listings. So the call sounds like this: ring, ring, ring. Hi, is this Troy? Yes, Troy. Troy, I see you've just listed a home in Fairplay, an area where I live and work, and I was just curious if you might like it to be held open this weekend. You're in Denver or something, right? And I mean, if you had a listing and you were in Denver and your listing was in Fair Play, would you allow someone to do it?
Yeah, certainly.
So, so there you go. You could do that open house. And have you branded your signs to yourself?
Yeah, I've got lots of directional writers and they have QR codes, goes to my website and such.
Okay, but does it have your name and stuff on it?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right. By the way, this is a hot button for me. If you guys, first of all, I want you to think of for sale signs and open house signs as mini billboards. Okay. And what drives me absolutely crazy is I'll see agents take time away from their family to go do an open house, and they have these generic red and white for sale, open house signs. It's totally insane. Okay. These are wonderful opportunities to get your name into the community. And even with all the technology that we have today, the predominant way that the consumer perceives the market leader is based on signage in a neighborhood. Okay. So you want your signs all over the place, and you don't want them out there 15, 20 minutes before the open house. If you're, especially if you have a vacant home, you want to put those signs out there at 7:30, 8 in the morning, and not 4 to 6, but 14 to 16. Okay. And you want to have a little flyer at the flyer box that just says, "Hi, thank you for coming by. We'll be open today from 12 to 4. If you're not able to come during that time, feel free to reach out to me personally for a private showing of this or some other home." Okay. So here's the thing, Troy, with out of area agents is that, well, first of all, up until very recently, this strategy hasn't worked because the home's been selling with multiple offers overnight. Okay. But yet this is another opportunity that's now going to start to open because of the shift in the market. So now that that remote agent who's 2, 3, 5 hours away from that listing is going to have this listing sitting there vacant and it's not moving. So you're going to be adding value to them by offering to do marketing for them. But also, do you think they might be getting sign calls?
Oh, certainly.
Right. And if the person isn't going to buy that particular home, how persistent do you think they are in following up on those buyers?
Not. Yep.
Okay. So step 1, may I hold your home open? Step 2, do a kick butt job holding it open, tons of signage, do a drawing with a local restaurant. Maybe you do a drawing for this cafe, right? You give them $100 gift certificate. They'll be in coffee for months. Okay. And have the lender sponsor that, by the way, the lender that's going to follow up on all your open house leads. And I'll give you the same speech that I gave Russell on listing for sale by owners, is that every open house that you do, you should be doing a drawing. You should be collecting 10, 12, 14 names, phones, and emails. And then they should go into a drawing that the lender is sponsoring on a monthly basis for a high-end local restaurant. And they call all those people. You don't follow up on them. They do it. Okay. I can tell you, I've booked $750,000 listing appointments from those follow-up calls. Okay. So it's the real deal. And so though, once you've done the open house though for them, then what you do is you report that information back to the listing agent. Hey, just want you to know your seller may appreciate knowing that we had 17 groups through, and what and they had 3 of them with agents, etc. and you may get a call from this person or that person because they seem genuinely interested. They said they were going to come back or whatever. Okay. So in other words, good communication. And so that you've added that value, and then just open up the deal. Just say, hey, by the way, I'm guessing you're probably getting a few buyer sign inquiries, huh? And they'll say, yeah. And just say, well, I know you are a few hours away. If they're not interested in buying that property, you want me to follow up on those leads?
Yeah.
I'll pay you. I wouldn't pay a full referral fee, right? Like a 25% referral fee, but would you pay 20? And now all of a sudden you've got buyer leads, local, right? And okay, and step 3 on the program is now you're about 60 days into the listing, and the guy is starting to look at this listing like a problem. By the way, they probably ended up at the listing in a unique situation. It's their brother, their sister, their cousin, or whatever, right? Because they normally don't work foreplay. I mean, foreplay, oh my gosh, where's my head? How about fair play? Okay. And so what you ask them then is, would you like me to take over the marketing of this property? I'd even be, if we do it during the listing and I get to relist the property, I'd be willing to pay a 50% referral fee because this happens to be in my home, my geographic home market that I'm trying to develop. Okay, because, and just say, even though I won't make much money off this, at least it'll cover my marketing costs. And this has been a hard property for him to sell. He doesn't want to go to meet contractors. Logistically, it's become a little bit of a nightmare. And just say, hey, I know that I'm guessing you might find out why you got the listing, but that you might want to stay involved when we do get a deal. If you want to be kept in the communication loop, that would be another way to do that. So anyway, that's phase 3, is you can actually take over listings. And if they're in your niche neighborhood, remember what I said, who does the consumer perceive to be the market leader? It is the person with the signs. And by the way, does that guy really care that his sign goes down in fair play? I mean, he's a Denver agent.
Yeah.
Right?
He doesn't.
No, but you do, if that is in fact a market that you want to develop, right?
Yeah. Now with this, I guess it's case by case, basis, but do you think a local agent would allow that? I mean, if there are a few EXP agents up here, but if it wasn't EXP related?
There's only one way to find out. Yeah. I mean,
they're not holding open houses.
Yeah. I mean, Bob doesn't like holding open. He hated doing that open house when you were sick, by the way.
Oh, he had to do it?
Yeah. Yeah. He was bitching the whole time. So, anyway, so, the way you find out is just call them and ask them. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. But the point is, more signs, make sure they're branded. Okay. Make sure you've got a drawing set up and paid for by your lender. Make sure that your lender is following up on all of your open house visitors. Make sure you have your lender's calendar link so you can book appointments directly from the open house, and make sure he or she has yours so they can, when they do those follow-up calls, they can book listing appointments right into your calendar. When that lender does those follow-ups, pre-qualification 101 is, do you have a home to sell first, right?
Yep.
Would you like Troy to give you a fair market evaluation of the home at no cost or obligation? I have his calendar here. Today's Tuesday. How would Thursday afternoon be? Bam.
Sweet.
You got a listing appointment. Okay.
I actually took the homeowner with me because I had open houses this weekend, and on Friday we did door knocking. And I took the homeowner with me to do the whole door knocking because it's in a high rise. And the neighbors were so much more receptive in opening the door and having a conversation.
That's interesting. I've never heard that. And what was your pitch to your homeowner to get him to tag along?
Well, it does help that she's moving to Mexico and considering joining our team. So this was like training for her. But yeah, I said, like, we're in this together, it's a teamwork, this part of the process. This is the best way to handle it, and it was good.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, well, and by the way, you guys, what I love about that particular one is just, I just never have thought of it. I have, by the way, and this is something that may come in handy for you as the prices start to shift. I was looking, interestingly enough, at some data for Portland, the listings, the active listings. 38% of the listings have had a price reduction. That is a shift. Whoa. Right? So, but one time I had a seller, believe it or not, you guys have probably never had this. They thought their home was worth more than it really was. And so, so I made him get in the car with me and drive the comps. Right? And by the end of the tour, they were like, all right, we'll lower our price, right? Because even if you're looking at the pictures, first of all, it's hard because they like green carpet, okay? And even though 99% of the population isn't a big fan of that, they personalize the home to the way it is, but that can be a valuable strategy. So, hey, Patrick, I'm curious on your internet lead gen. What does the activity feel like in that arena?
Dropped dramatically.
Has it really?
Yeah. I mean, some of that was driven already by inventory is one of the biggest grabbers because we have forced registration on the site. And when there's nothing to look at that's appealing, people tend not to want to register to see the details. And so it had already kind of stopped. And I think it was just buyer sentiment with seller asking prices. You land on a community page and you see, 5-6 listings, and all of them are $500,000 higher than what you'd even consider paying. And so you hit back and go back to Google and start searching more. But we're already starting to see price reductions in some of the communities that we drive the most leads from. And I think that's going to help with that. But no, it's definitely decreased. Compared to, like, say, the same time, I can remember directly after the lockdowns in COVID, and we saw a huge spike in registrations within those first few weeks as we saw the upswing on this, this recent upswing, where everybody's excited to look, everybody's looking, and you could almost tell that when they opened things up, it was going to be chaos in the market. Whereas we saw it slow down registrations wise starting April. As soon as the first rate cut happened, it changed.
Okay, so now what are you doing based upon that? Yeah, because you're
doubling down on follow-up on existing registrations. Recently, I started integrating video voicemails. Instead of leaving voicemails, we started to send video calls, just texts. Monitoring the inventory very closely, specifically for good price reductions. So reach out when you see something. We recently in Winchester Country Club here saw a house start at 2.2 and it's now $1,750,000. So I had about 100 or so people registered in that community that have been active in the last year. So we reached out to all of those with texts and emails saying, hey, look at this really great listing that you didn't want here. It might be great now. A couple conversations from that, and just more of that, just trying to create some churn.
Yeah. Now, is there, because I know you're involved with martial arts and is there another avenue that you can dive into and nurture? Because what I heard you say is, I've got about 1/3 of the leads or 1/2 of the leads I had before, but I'm going to work them twice as hard, and you're being creative. But what I'm a little bit fearful of, because we haven't even really hit the real correction yet. This is just the precursor to the really fun stuff. Is that it will get even worse? I don't want to see you out there in the field beating a dead horse,
Yeah.
And so, what can you do? In other words, what opportunity has this shift created that might open up an opportunity that wasn't maybe there before? Like maybe someone in your martial arts club might have a rental that they want to sell at the top of the market.
Right.
Or, have you thought about some other avenues that you could pursue?
Based off of your coaching, I'm already started really trying to leverage past clients a couple months ago when I moved over to EXP. I'm meeting with an investor past client tomorrow for coffee to discuss selling your duplex. So exactly what you're saying. Trying to help people, exit some investment properties.
Yes.
And then, I think too, just mindset wise, recognizing that buyers that really had no chance 6 months ago are now in the game. So, I'm talking to younger folks that have less down, that maybe move up clients that were reluctant to list their home because they're afraid they couldn't get another house.
Yeah.
This crazy market. They're now in a position where they haven't had to leverage with sellers that like this for a few years. And so they're in an opportunity where they can make an offer that's contingent. They can make an offer that's asking for a credit towards closing costs. They can be a VA buyer and not have somebody turn their nose up to them because they got 17 other offers. So I think for the buyers that have kind of been left out, there's now an opportunity, and they can buy a house that they want, not just the one that's left over.
Absolutely.
I think it's great actually for buy. I mean, the payment sucks, that it's gone up because of interest rates, but there's a lot of people who just couldn't do anything that now can.
Yeah, and once we go into a pretty good recession, which we're very likely to be in the not too distant future, and they tame inflation, which who knows how long that's going to take, but I'm guessing not more than a year or two. I suspect they'll lower rates back. So in other words, what you can remind people of. I love your enthusiasm for what it is, the opportunities that it is creating, and they have the right to refinance when the rates improve, right?
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Now, I just want to give you one more. I love that, of course, me, I'm the buy referral guy, and I'm going to make my pitch. If you guys want to be Icon Buy Referral, that's my group. Okay, so reach out to me if you want to be in that mastermind. But speaking to your niche, okay, it occurred to me the other day that, like I told you, this is my third cycle, but, if I were a little longer in the tooth, maybe I was 70 years old, for example, and I had rentals that had tremendously appreciated, now might be a really good time to think of exiting the market, because I don't really want to, by the time prices get back up to where they are again today, I could be damn near 80 years old, who knows, right? So you could do some work with that, right? You could work with your title rep to identify people, let's say that we're 65 plus, that have income properties with a low basis and have seen tremendous appreciation. Those lists are really easy to pull, and then you could match those to Facebook accounts. You could drop a campaign into it. You could set up a panel conversation, maybe with a financial advisor, and you could talk about just paying your taxes, or you could talk about having them go into a managed a lot of people don't realize that the DSTs, you know, the deferred sales trust are options to 1031 into. So you could set up an expert panel event for that. And if you want some insight on that, Barry Mathis could help you. But my point is, you know, maybe that kind of plays to your digital strengths of creating a target group. Like you reached out to that guy in your sphere, and now potentially you're going to be listing this duplex. But what about looking into the market and identifying, you know, 300-400 properties that potentially, you know, that are owned by 65+ people that would probably be happy to have that cash or go into a self-managed investment and lock in their profits at today's market level. Something to consider, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, well, we're going to wrap it up. And what I would love to see from each and every one of you is an email sent to don@proinsight.com that says, hey, Don, this is my #1 focus. This is what how I'm going to ensure I get, you know, either my 1, my 2, my 3 transactions per month. And this is what I'm doing to improve upon my approach. And do you have any other ideas? And I'll see if I can plus it even more for you. All right. So thank you for being here today. And I will shut off the recording.